Strong takes? He's got them.
He's on pace for 50 turnovers in 2 years. I'm not saying Baker's going to be bad. Baker is bad.
He's got questions that really make you think.
How is Jason Garrett still employed at 10:30 a.m. Central Time on 12/24 Christmas Eve?
He doesn't shy away from being bold.
Jameis Winston is everything the NFL Sunday Ticket was credited for.
He's not afraid to speak the truth.
Aaron Rodgers is an MVP. What the hell, is the national media losing their mind?
Now over to Simon's 11.
Welcome on in to the Simon's 11 show. I know we did not have a live show this week, but you ain't going to miss the opportunity on a Wednesday before the Super Bowl hump day to do a little bit of a Super Bowl preview. We've got Kansas City, we've got San Francisco. As of now, Kansas City is still the slightest of favorites at -1, and the over-under is, in my opinion, at an incredible 54.5. The over seems really high. When I say incredible 54.5, that seems pretty high to me. Basically what these lines itself, with Kansas City -1 and the over-under at 54.5, what Vegas is telling you is two things. The first thing, Mahomes will be able to put up points on the NFL's best defense. When the 49ers defense is healthy, it is the best defense in the NFL. They don't have the best secondary, but that front seven is so good it makes up for it, and they still do have All-Pro Richard Sherman on one side of the field where teams just don't throw and they limit that. Mahomes, I have a feeling, is young enough where he's probably like, you know what, we're going to take our chances, right? We're going to take our chances, and my guess is the 49ers do play a lot of zone in this game to limit Hill walk, just to limit the speed in general. So they're telling you with a 54.5 over-under that Mahomes is going to be able to put up points. With Kansas City favored in this game by 1, the other thing Vegas is telling you is that Mahomes is so good that he becomes all the shortcomings Kansas City has in this game to be the favorite. Think of it as this is them saying Mahomes is 5 to 10x better than Jimmy G. San Francisco, and the reason I say that is San Francisco has the advantage at the running back position, at the O-line position, at the D-line, at the linebackers, and at the secondary. Yeah, San Francisco has the better D-line, linebackers, and secondary. Every wave of the defense, San Francisco has the advantage and the better personnel. They do have a better offensive line. They do have a better running backs. The teams push on special teams, punting, kicking. Kansas City has a slight advantage in the return game. They push on coaching. I love Andy Reid, right? I love Andy Reid, but the guy hasn't won, right? Everybody loves Andy Reid. Everybody would be okay with Andy Reid. Well, actually, I wouldn't because I want the Niners to win the Super Bowl. But if they are going to lose the Super Bowl to anybody, Andy Reid is the person I'd like them to lose the Super Bowl to. But to be fair, Andy Reid is Andy Reid because Andy Reid never wins, right? Shanahan has proven this entire year the schemes that he could come up with, especially with Robert at the defensive side. It's a push. It is a push. And the tight end, Kelsey Kittle. Those are the two best tight ends in football. There's absolutely no argument for any other two people besides those two as the best two tight ends in football. That's a push. So where Kansas City has the advantage. They have the advantage in the wide receiver category and the quarterback category. Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins over Deebo Samuel and Emmanuel Sanders. And the quarterback, Patrick Mahomes over Jimmy Garoppolo. That's it. Kansas City has quarterback, wide receivers. San Francisco is either pushing or has better personnel everywhere else on the field. So Vegas is basically telling you Mahomes is so good and so much better than Jimmy G that Kansas City is going to be a favorite in this game. If you take Patrick Mahomes, you keep everything the same, and you take Patrick Mahomes off this team and put in, I don't know, who's the equivalent of who's equivalent of Jimmy G. And I don't even know, because Jimmy G, in my opinion, is super underrated, right? I believe he's super underrated. But I mean, he can't be a big name like Aaron Rodgers or anything like that. But if you take Mahomes off, you put an equivalent of Jimmy G. The Niners are favored in this game by 7-10, right? So basically, what they're with all of the advantages, so what they're telling you is Mahomes is basically worth 8 to 11 points in this game. And I mean, and that's up for debate. I mean, Mahomes is the best quarterback. You know, I've been saying it for the entire year. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. He has been for 2 years. I know Lamar Jackson was the best player in the NFL this year, but Mahomes was still always the best quarterback in the NFL this year.
Simon's 11's key to victory.
The key to victory for the San Francisco 49ers, when looking over all of the matchups, the biggest matchup difference is also in favor of San Francisco. You have San Francisco as the second best running team in football, only behind the absolutely ridiculous over 200 yards a game Baltimore Ravens with Ingram and, of course, the aforementioned Lamar Jackson, going up against Kansas City's 24th ranked rush defense. We have seen this entire playoffs, and by this entire playoffs, the last 2 games, since San Francisco did have a bye in that first round, we have seen that Shanahan has absolutely no problem exploiting the same matchup weakness that they've had for 2 weeks now and just beating a dead horse and pounding the rock. And I listen to a lot of that. I listen to a lot of sports radio. I listen to a lot of national media. I read a lot and all of that. And why don't people think that they're going to be able to do that again? Right? The biggest matchup differential in this entire game is rushing offense versus rushing defense. The Niners have the best passing defense in football. Will Mahomes be able to put up points on them? Probably somewhat, right? Somewhat. But Kansas City hasn't been able. They stopped Derrick Henry. And at the same point they stopped Derrick Henry is coming off 2 straight games with 70 carries in it, right? The 49ers have a trio of running backs in Breda, in Coleman. If he plays, Coleman should be playing. All reports are saying that Coleman's going to play. And then, of course, Mostert. We've been saying it for a week already, though, that the 49ers can control the clock, keeping Mahomes off the field. Now, this is key because Kansas City can score quickly, right? So what you can't do is allow Kansas City to have that 10-play drive. They don't want that 10-play drive. Kansas City wants to score in a couple minutes. However, Kansas City scoring in a couple minutes and the Niners controlling time of possession is only going to help in the second half. Their defense, which already isn't great, their run defense, which already is atrocious. I mean, they're bottom third of the league. Come second half, when the Niners have 26 carries halfway through the third quarter, that defense is going to be toast. That linebacker core, that defensive line, they're going to be so tired. And that's the problem with Kansas City scoring so quick when you're playing a team as good as the 49ers, right? So let's say it's halfway through the third quarter. The Niners are up in this game 21-14, 21-17. They're just going to pound the ball. Shanahan has no problem exploiting the weakness. And in my opinion, that's their way of winning this game.
Simon's 11's key to victory.
For Kansas City, it's Mahomes. Why wouldn't it be Mahomes? Right? Why wouldn't it be Mahomes? Obviously, Mahomes and the defense. The defense, the Mahomes provides. Let's start with. They have 2 keys of winning: Mahomes and the defense. Let's start with Mahomes. The Niners' pass rush is the best in football. I don't think there's an argument about that. I think that seems to be a pretty national consensus that that's the best in football. The Niners do struggle when they can't fully commit to the pass rush. So when teams are able to run the ball at them, when teams have mobile quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, like Lamar Jackson, like Kyler Murray, Baker didn't really do anything, but again, we all know my opinion on Baker. This is a Baker bashing free zone this week leading up to the Super Bowl because he shouldn't even be mentioned. And I mentioned him, so that's on me. Mahomes is mobile. Mahomes is mobile enough to get out of the pocket. Mahomes has a lot of the same traits that young Aaron Rodgers had. He's not going to blaze by you with speed, right? But he's smart. He's very smart. He's able to move the pocket, and he's able to get that 5 to 7 rush. 5 to 7 yard rush. Yeah, we know we had the big rush against Tennessee, but again, as we discussed last week, that was such a fluke as quarterbacks get so much leeway they can fake going on. The run wasn't as good as it was, but again, it happened. But if Mahomes plays perfectly, the 49ers get a ton of sacks, get a ton of turnovers, get a ton of QB pressures. If Mahomes plays perfectly, doesn't turn the ball over, and doesn't take a big sack on like a 3rd and 8 when they're in field goal range, like that type of thing where you can't take sacks against a team that gives up so few points like the 49ers. And that's the problem that Rodgers ran into. He took sacks. That's the problem with Cousins. He took sacks. Both of them turned the ball over. Mahomes is key. Just don't turn the ball over. Keep that D-line going at about 85% speed, worrying about Mahomes' escapability, and Mahomes just making big throws. The Niners don't really give up deep passes. So, again, when you have speedsters out there, it's going to be a lot of yak with them. And on to the other key to win the defense. Obviously, the defense has to step up and stop the run, right? It's the same thing. When the key to victory for the 49ers is controlling the clock, running the ball, Kansas City understands this. Andy Reid's a good enough coach to understand, right? That's what they want to do. That's what they've been doing. They did hold Kansas City in check last week. And as I mentioned, Tennessee does not have a trio of backs, right? Derrick Henry might have been tired. They abandoned the run completely. And even still, stopping Derrick Henry was still 3.94 yards per carry last week. But he only had 16 carries. The Niners are going to have 16 carries in the first quarter and a half this game, in my opinion. But as far as the defense as a whole, not just stopping the run, right? As far as the defense as a whole, Kansas City has been absolutely phenomenal since week 10. They do a good job of scoring early, getting teams one-dimensional, i.e. Tennessee last week, abandoning the run and going to Ryan Tannehill, and letting the defense feast, which, again, you saw last week. Frank Clark. He's a crazy guy, right? Crazy guy. Might not be the most intelligent guy, but he's a heck of a player. So Kansas City's keys to win, you got to contain the run. You're not going to stop it, right? You got to contain the run, and Mahomes has to play error-free. Speaking of Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. No argument. We'll say that again. However, he is human. Mahomes doesn't get shut down a lot, right? Mahomes doesn't really have a lot of bad games. But, however, the 49ers do have some tape on how to do it, specifically with the LA Chargers. The LA Chargers played the Kansas City Chiefs and Mahomes, because remember, Mahomes was hurt this year for a couple games, twice. Week 10, he went 19 of 32 for a $182, a touchdown, and an interception. And week 17, he also played the Chargers. 16 of 25, 174, a touchdown and an interception. And week 17, they needed that win and the Patriots lost. So that was a monster game for Kansas City. To be fair, every game when Mahomes came back was a monster game to get that first round bye. So the Chargers held them in check twice. They could check the Chargers, see what happened. Hey, maybe the Bosas want to have a conversation, right? Maybe the Bosas are sitting around the table this week and like, hey, we're just going to have a little family dinner. How do I stop Patrick Mahomes? You know what I mean? So you got those two. Also against Oakland, week 11. He went 15 of 29 for 179 yards. He did have 2 total touchdowns. And New England, week 12. 26 of 40 for 283 yards only on 40 attempts. A touchdown and an interception. Now, again, we know he played 13 games, right? And 4 of those games, as you can see there, were pretty terrible. I mean, you've got the best quarterback in the NFL throwing for 283 yards, and the 3 other games about $180 or less. Like, those are crazy low numbers for a guy that averages over 300 yards a game, right? That's half of what he's getting for the most part, besides New England. But New England, he had to get 40 pass attempts to get up to the 280, and he only had 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So in those 4 games, he had 3 of his picks as well. Now, I know he played 13 games, right? So this is about a quarter of a season, though, right? So there's tape out there on how you can potentially run your defense to protect to protect their defense and protect Patrick Mahomes from going crazy. And the one thing the Niners have is the best defense. So it's not a lot because, other than these 4 games, right? It's easy to nitpick these 4 games to see how Mahomes can be controlled. But at the same point, there's 9 other games showing how Mahomes can throw over 400 yards on you. It just shows. I mean, this doesn't show that Mahomes is terrible. This doesn't show anything like that. Basically, what this shows is that there's a potential of Mahomes basically being slowed down, being human with the right game plan. Wow, I'm having a hard time speaking. My apologies. One other little side nugget for these 4 games where Patrick Mahomes played absolutely atrocious. Kansas City won all 4 of them. Stat that you probably didn't know. The San Francisco 49ers are the second highest scoring team in the NFL at 29.9 points per game. Everybody talks about the Niners defense. Everyone talks about how Jimmy G is a weak link and Jimmy G is this, Jimmy G is that. There's only one quarterback in the NFL. The QBR takes a couple things into factor. 3 of them: completion percentage, yards per attempt, touchdowns. Jimmy G's the only one in the NFL in the top 5 in all 3 of those categories. But San Francisco, he can make throws. He went toe-to-toe with Drew Brees in New Orleans and beat him. Toe-to-toe, put up 40 on him. Jimmy G has that ability, but the San Francisco 49ers are the second highest scoring team in the NFL and basically averaged 30 points per game this entire year. Simon's 11's bet of the Super Bowl, prop bet of the Super Bowl. The shortest touchdown over 1.5 yards. Yes, you can bet anything on the Super Bowl. You can bet what the longest touchdown. I think the longest touchdown is at 44.5 yards, right? But the shortest touchdown at 1.5 yards. In my opinion, I don't think Kansas City can stop that Niners defense from getting a 3-yard touchdown or so. So, in my opinion, I don't see there being a 1-yard touchdown in this game. So that's my prop bet of the Super Bowl. And finally, to my prediction, the San Francisco 49ers, 27. The Kansas City Chiefs, 24. And Jimmy G will throw for 2 touchdowns of their 3 touchdowns and about 250 yards. And Jimmy G will be your Super Bowl MVP. Again, that's 27-24. I like the Niners money line, and I like the under in this game. And Jimmy G will be the Super Bowl MVP. All right, guys, I want you all to enjoy the Super Bowl. Go 49ers. Obviously, I don't hide my 49ers. I don't hide my 49ers fandom. I think this is going to be one heck of a Super Bowl. Enjoy it. Eat your wings. Eat your meatballs. Eat your little smokies. Do whatever you need to do. Get together with family, friends. Enjoy the Super Bowl. And hashtag Go Niners. Later, guys.